which is going to be a panel discussing using technology and data to drive sustainability in business. That's going to be interesting. And then we will be welcoming on stage 3 amazing panelists. First, Jean-Christophe Tellier, who is the CEO of UCB. Also, Cyril Garcia. Ooh, we have music. Who is the head of Global Sustainability Services and Corporate Responsibility at Capgemini. And Gabriel Nussbaum, who is Senior Manager of the World Resource Institute and also leader of Land and Carbon Lab and the Global Forest Watch. So really, 3 amazing people here to discuss today. And we'll be discussing how innovative technologies and data can drive better solutions across different industries, of course. And that includes health, that includes sustainability, business, environment. So welcome to the 3 of you. Thank you so much for joining me on stage. And maybe before we begin, it would be great if you can just give a quick introduction about yourselves, your organizations, and also how you see technology being used to reshape sustainability efforts in your respective industries. Ideally mentioning some examples if you can, so it makes it even more tangible for the audience here. Who wants to kickstart?
Sure.
Go ahead, Gabrielle.
Yeah, thanks. I'm a senior manager at the World Resources Institute, which is an independent global research organization. And I work across 2 initiatives there, Global Forest Watch and Land and Carbon Lab. Global Forest Watch provides data about how forests are changing across the globe, including near real-time data. And this has been really transformative because in the past, if rangers wanted to know where deforestation was happening within their protected area, they would have to do foot patrols, which often took a long time, or helicopter surveys, which is very costly. So with this near real-time information, they're able to know exactly where deforestation may be happening and really prioritize their very limited resources to check out those alerts on the ground. And we're moving beyond forests with Land and Carbon Lab, since we've seen the power of what this data can do. Grasslands, shrublands, and savannas, for example, make up more than 50% of the Earth's land surface. So they're really important biomes and ecosystems. So with Land and Carbon Lab, we're hoping to push the bounds between what we can measure with all different types of land and land uses and the carbon fluxes associated with them. And we're also experimenting with AI as well to understand how we can move from just providing data to providing actionable insights.
Awesome, thank you. Who want to go next?
Well, thank you for the invitation. So my name is Jean-Christophe Tellier. I'm the CEO of UCB. I'm a physician by training, and I've been CEO of UCB for 11 years now. So UCB is a biopharma company focusing on innovation. And the first message maybe I would like to convey is that data should help us to be more oriented into the result versus segmenting the task. So what I mean about that, a pharma company, you can argue, we are here to create medicine that could help patients to have a better life. And it's true, this is what we are doing. But if we stop there, we don't really ensuring that all the patients that needs our drug can get the impact of that and can get the benefit of the drug. So I think that data technology, AI in the future may help us to better focus on the result in a more integrated way. And that may be something that I would like to convey also, which is how to make sure that we understand the different contribution to produce the result that we want to produce. A physician without a medicine has much less impact, but a medicine without a physician have no impact also, right? So how to create an environment where we can support the idea that we are working together to provide the best outcome possible. And of course, data is very helpful for that,
100%.
right? And if you want an example, maybe to quickly close with one, We have one experience in the UK where we are losing a platform to try to facilitate the connection with patients and physicians and optimize the outcome, reduce the numbers of consultation, facilitate the dialogue, making sure that the time is better used, right? We have thousands of users right now, but it cannot work if it's just us putting the platform available, if the patients are not engaged and wanted to do it, if the physician don't see the value for them, if the environment, payers, regulators, NHS in the case of England, even if NHS doesn't exist anymore, can have and see the value of that. So that's how I see data in our business moving forward. Thank you.
Wonderful. Bringing everyone together makes total sense. Cyril, maybe you want to jump in.
Yes, I'm the happy member of a startup born in Grenoble 60 years ago called Capgemini. So maybe we attended a Change Now session in Grenoble in 1967 and met some investors. But in the recent 10 years, no, I'm just joking. In the last 10 years, we have seen the society becoming so greedy about technology. And our former CEO, Paul Hermelin, who had a very strong political fiber, asked us and asked me, but what can we do with all the assets that we have in technology? What can we do for the society? And I said, but Paul, it's in front of us. It's about employment, it's about healthcare, it's about energy transition. We are already in there. So we decided to accelerate on that front. And today we are, our mission is really to advise and scale up, basically, innovation, new ideas, new products, new services. And the horizon that we are working for now is really about climate tech. It's really about leverage impact of AI to make all the new energies available, to make sure that with Jean-Claude, AI will have a strong impact and a positive impact on healthcare, and we'll come back on that.
Wonderful. Maybe already coming back with you then, and maybe Jean-Christophe would like to add something to it as well, but if you were to write a guide, because I know that you support a lot of business, but if you were to write a guide for them right now, telling them how to understand sustainability tech, to improve accountability and transparency in what they're doing, what would be like the rule number one? What would you recommend to them?
This is for me, the
Go
first
ahead.
tough question. So to be very blunt, I would say leave room for bottom-up initiatives. I mean, honestly, we would not be in Change Now today, and we are partners for the last 7 years, without a community of young consultants who met Kevin and said, okay, there's something going on. So I think, okay, it goes with control and guidance, but if you don't have this spontaneity in your organization, well, the future is not guaranteed at all. And then the second element, but it took time to make it really, I would say, credible and real, is this idea of ecosystem. Build ecosystem and trust ecosystem, and it takes time. But those two elements, it's very pragmatic what I'm saying, but really leave room for initiative, bottom-up initiatives, and be curious about it. And the second element is definitely you cannot walk alone, so you need absolutely ecosystem.
Wonderful. Couldn't agree more. Jean-Christophe, do you want to build on that?
No, I think, or maybe the only one thing I would add is that in our line of business, what we are struggling with is fragmentation of data. And the fact that everyone wants to protect their own data, feel that they own their data, and doesn't want to work with others' data. I know physicians have their own data, hospitals have their own data. The hospital doesn't know the data from the physician. Patients have very limited access to their own data, by the way,
That's true.
which sometimes you consider, where is the reality there, right? We have certain like of data, payers have data, regulators have data. So, if we want to move to have a better solutions, I fully agree with Cyril. I think we need to get much more bottom-up initiative, and we need to find an environment where we can put the data together to be able to ask the right question. But question without the right set of data, it's irrelevant.
It definitely is. And I'd love to hear from you a little bit more, Gabriel, as well, because I know that you are working with different data sources, and I'm curious about what are the key advancements that you notice in data innovation, and that might include analytics, that might be like remote sensing and beyond. And how do you see them improving forest conservation, for example, land transparency? Maybe if you can share with the audience as well some tangible results of your work. So again, it makes even clearer for them how those technologies are already today being used to improve the transparency in the sustainability ecosystem.
Yeah, so I think I already mentioned near real-time alerts and how transformative they've been, and we've had these for a while, so we've been able to see some real tangible results from these alerts. Our partners at Rainforest Foundation conducted a study, and they found that indigenous leaders who actively monitor areas using these satellite-based alerts on Global Forest Watch have decreased illegal deforestation by more than 50% in a year. We've seen Global Forest Watch being used in legal proceedings. In the DRC, a militia leader was convicted for exploiting a national park using this data. We've also seen it being used by the corporate sector. In Brazil, an international food retailer using Global Forest Watch data was able to identify and suspend 177 beef retailers who were found non-compliant with zero deforestation sourcing policies. So we've seen a really big tangible impact with having this data available. And we're working on innovating to expand this even more, right? So last year, in partnership with University of Maryland and NASA's APRA program, we have expanded alerts, so they are now available for all vegetation, our vegetation disturbance alerts across the globe. We can now see where all different types of vegetation, including forests, are being disturbed or converted, and we're working on understanding what the drivers of these look like. We're also hoping to understand and push the bounds of what we can measure in terms of restoration as well. We've worked using AI and models on a 1 meter canopy map. So we're hoping that we can eventually move that to understand how trees are growing, right, and seeing how canopy changes. We're working on understanding where individual trees are outside of forests as well and where they're being lost. So there's a lot of innovation happening, yeah, so it's really exciting, and we hope to see some more tangible results with these new data sources as well.
Wonderful, and I love that you gave a number of different examples and many use cases where data can actually be super helpful in understanding the forest and then actually used to improve the state of the world. So thank you for that. I'd love to hear maybe a little bit more from you, Jean-Christophe, because you mentioned something about the different actors today that are also using the data, right, in your line of work. And one key aspect, I think, when we think about AI or data analytics, data collection in general, is the human element, right? So maybe if you could tell us a bit more about how important it is to integrate different voices and perspectives when we're thinking about data.
No, it's a very good point. It's a great question. And it's required a huge change management. Because if you think about healthcare, the importance of data and digitalizations and AI in the environment of healthcare, I feel, we are relatively lagging behind others industry. We have changed already much earlier. Because, once again, patients are all over the place, of course. Physician, private offices, if you go to the physicians today, I'm not sure you will see a lot of difference from the last 10 years, right? It's just starting, right? And so it takes some time. The human element is a lot of importance there. The other piece is how to make the evolution of the system by itself, because AI and data by nature need to change the system on how we address healthcare and how we want to invest in health. And one of the beauty, I feel, of data moving forward is it should help to reduce the waste that we have currently in the system and improve the ability to provide the best solution for each person individually. But before going into this individual improvement, we need a few things need to change. First, making sure that the different actors and stakeholders talk more to each other versus what it is today. And data can help to that, but there is still this human ability to do it. Two is making sure that all of the different actors are really converging to the best and the same outcome, which is not the case really today, right? Not necessarily, right? So how to ensure that we get more transparency, more exchange of data, more ability to understand them. And then finally, all of that needs to be done in an environment that respects the data of each individual. There is a lot of threats today, particularly in health,
Yeah.
because you don't want your data in health to be shared, to be somewhere you don't control anymore.
Of course, data privacy is super
Exactly.
important.
So the question of the privacy, the question of understanding where it goes. So the technology is there to anonymize data, to create data lakes, to put different data together. But I feel that it's not known, it's not tested enough, and there is not the willingness to do that. To illustrate that, when you have a patient suffering, a person suffering from a severe chronic disease, and if you ask this person, would you be ready to share your data in order to improve the quality of your health? I have never heard someone say no to that. But the way to get there is no real solutions today. Regulations are made to protect, but education is not really there. To get the consent of a patient or usage of the data, you need to make sure that the patient will understand what does it mean.
That's true.
And this is a very important component of it.
I'm sure after hearing you here, many more of us might be a little bit more open to sharing the data, knowing that it's potentially being used transparently and for a greater good, right? Advancing health outcomes and whatnot. But I couldn't agree more that it's super important to bring on board multiple stakeholders, different voices. That's the only way to have a technology that is actually helping everyone. Kind of in the similar, in the similar space of bringing different voices together, I would love to hear from you, Gabriel, as well, because I do know that you worked with different groups to reshape the solutions with Global Forest Watch and Carbon Lab as well. So maybe if you can tell us a bit more how you've been doing that.
Yeah, I really liked Jean-Christophe's point about the ground-up approach, and I think that's really important, and it's something that we really strive for, right? We really want to ensure that we're incorporating local voices into everything that we're doing, into our data, into our tech, and are really striving to build powerful technology, but that are grounded in the realities of the people who use them. So that means starting with user research, right? Really engaging who we're hoping to affect, understanding priorities, understanding constraints, understanding the decisions that need to be made and at which points and what kinds of input data need to go into those decisions, right? And also adapting our technologies to those evolving realities of those people. So adapting interfaces, understanding languages, understanding capacity. We try to work with local partners and regional partners as much as possible to co-develop any support materials. And it's not a one-time thing, it's an ongoing engagement, right? Because the people closest to the problem, if they can't use the solution or won't use the solution, then it's not really a solution, right? So we really strive to ensure that we always keep in mind who needs and who actually are those change makers and how can we support them with our data.
Yeah, a tool that isn't used is useless, right? So in order for it to be helpful, you have absolutely to make sure that from the beginning, from the user design and talking to the communities, that they're going to be actually helpful. Great insights. Thanks for sharing. And then it would be great to hear a bit more from the three of you, actually, about the ethical considerations and how they come into play when using data to make decisions that impact environment and people. If you want to jump in and come on, Cyril.
I mean, when you have been through so many technological innovations, there's a fundamental point, which is the culture. Culture means not working in silos. Culture means there are communities. You raise alarms, you share your findings. So it seems a bit basic, but the culture of the company is vital. Because then, of course, there are processes, there are audit, but the heart of everything is really make sure that the culture allows, this the good practices in terms of sharing, in terms of raising alarms. And then, and with some legal constraints popping up or opportunities, but for sure, central functions, audit are needed. But to be fair, it will not work if you don't have, in your DNA and even it's a kind of even social contract among your colleagues and employees. This idea that you're not alone, you're not in your own silo when you develop, when you innovate.
100%.
Well, maybe just two quick points to close on this subject. Data will, of course, create a different environment, and AI also. So keep the ethical component of it, in particularly healthcare, is very important. And the ethical part of it is just remember, we are doing that in the end to provide a better health for a person. Mm-hmm. And so make sure that this person is aware, understand, provide the consent, and is completely on board with what you want to do, right? So taking the perspective of the patients within the company and not just taking the regulatory approach, the legal, the expertise approach is very important. The second element, it's just a belief, but health should be an investment and not a cost. And today, if you start this conversation, we need to reduce the cost of health, you will never improve the outcome. But if you start with health is an investment, because better health means better society, means better citizen, better people, being able to contribute more, then how to get a better health? You start to collaborate, you start to cooperate. And for me, data and AI is an opportunity. It may be counterintuitive, but it's an opportunity to bring more human into solving problems that we have today, but bring human at the right level, not to solve the task, but really to focus on the outcome.
That makes sense. Thinking already about prevention, thinking about longevity, thinking about how you think of health really as an investment and not just as a sickness and cost. Super interesting. Gabrielle, maybe from the sustainability, like environmental perspective.
Absolutely. So I think one big ethical consideration is understanding the context. Data is a great tool. It can also be dangerous if used improperly. And I think back to the incorporating local voices, local communities that the data affects need to have a say in how it's applied, right? Because data can be used to remove local people from their homes if applied incorrectly. It could be used to take away land tenure rights. So ensuring that those voices and local context and local knowledge is part of how we're understanding and applying data is a big consideration. And I think another really massive consideration is access and information. There was a point made about data existing in silos. Open data is so important to give voices to many people who often don't have access to it. And if the most resourced and largest organizations are the only one that have access to it, then all the small local organizations are stuck behind paywalls. And that could be really dangerous. It can reinforce existing power imbalances. So, all of our data, we're a nonprofit, we're an NGO, so our data is open, free, our code's open source, and we really encourage others to be able to open up their data to empower others. And I think there's also a role for AI as well to be more inclusive with data so that it's not only in the hands of data scientists or data analysts. AI can really help people as an opportunity to make sense of data as well. So it's a big opportunity there and something to take into consideration.
Wonderful. So thinking about the data culture, understanding the implications and the use cases for data and the outcome, as well as in understanding the data access to imply that you have thought about the key ethical aspects of integrating data into your business. Wonderful. I want to hear from you, Cyril, as well about how the role of AI in particular and how it is accelerating sustainability efforts today and what challenges that come to mind. So what are, of course, the key opportunities that AI bring and the challenges that might come along with it when implementing AI at scale?
I like this big question with a big smile and answer in 20 seconds. It's great, it's Friday. Okay, so first, I should not smile about it because it's very serious. I mean, AI and energy dominance are part of the new power play. What I mean by that, it's a challenge in terms of sovereignty. And what it is at stake in the midterm is really sovereignty. So we should be aware of the impact of on sustainability, on water use of GenAI. By the way, we work on it. We have developed a tool to assess with the L'École Normale Supérieure to assess the impact on water and electricity of GenAI. But, so let's not be genuine, but still the power of calculation of AI is fantastic. And in energy efficiency, in simulation, and in the definition of new infrastructure, construction of new infrastructure, it will be a fantastic tool for the future. But to come to Jean-Christophe, in the short term, we really place a bet in life sciences because what we see today is that the impact of AI, as we speak, it's happening. Jean-Christophe, the impact on clinical trials is massive. So we should probably, by the end of this year, have fantastic outcomes thanks to the use of AI. And talking about ecosystem, by the way, with a partnership from Jean-Christophe and UCB, we have developed with some other giants, Sanofi, Generali, and Orange, a fantastic accelerator for digital healthcare called Future for Care, and where startups are developing solutions around AI in research, of course, but in prevention, in diagnosis, in treatment, in monitoring. So as we speak, we have a platform of more than 60 startups working on it, and this is the future. And what is absolutely amazing is that the cycle, the research cycle, is extremely fast. So that's the hope. But let's not be too naive. In parallel, absolutely, we need to increase the performance and diminish impact in terms of energy and water consumption. So those are the two streams that we need to work in parallel. But again, first, very concrete impact in healthcare and life sciences.
Super important, and it's good that we thought about potential risks as well. But maybe to end the panel on a positive note, I'd like to hear one phrase from each of you. Biggest opportunities that you see for data in the sustainability aspect, tackling be it health, social, climate, biodiversity, sustainability. Just a positive note of inspiration for everyone so that we can close.
Health.
I do agree. I think it's a great opportunity to provide a better health for everyone.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and AI really has a potential to remove a lot of barriers, and there are potentially some risks, but I think it's something we should really look into. And we'd also like to mention that we have a booth in the back if anyone's interested in learning more in the biodiversity section.
Fantastic. So good invitation for people to come by and learn a bit more from you. Gabriel, Cyril, Jean-Christophe, thank you so much for joining me for this conversation, and I hope you have an amazing afternoon. Thank you. Applauses for those panelists.